And good evening, everyone, and so let's call the meeting to order. And first order of business is approval of the September minutes. Does anybody want to make that motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that's passed. Then president's remarks, quite honestly, I don't have any, other than we had a cleanup and we three quarters of both the iron and the assorted stuff. Both 3/4 of the bins were filled, and so I guess it was a success. And that's all I have. Office update.
I don't have a lot either. Working on the special tax district request for reimbursement of expenses for the last quarter just ended. It'll be $13,860, round numbers, I didn't put the cents down here. I've had a request for signs throughout the community that would say, no golf carts. The owner, the property owner that came in threatened that if something happened, it wasn't threatened, he's a very nice man, but he said if something happens, because he had an incident somewhere, where he almost hit somebody and they like motioned to him. He said if something happens and I have an accident, I'm going to hold the board. No, he didn't say I'm going to hold the board responsible. He said he could see that the board could be held responsible.
I don't know if he's a
I
lawyer.
don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not, we have put out so many notices
That's what I,
about golf courts being the golf carts and other vehicles that
Yes.
are not cleared for street use being illegal, and that, I don't see how we can be held
Plus, I want
responsible.
to know about his own due diligence. Is he going to call the sheriff on his people?
and he does, and he
He
has,
does?
yes.
Okay.
Well, then
Yes,
that's good.
yes, he's a
Needs to happen.
responsible person, I
Okay.
know him somewhat.
Well,
And I agree, and I told him, I said, we've had a newsletter, emails have gone out, it's been discussed at meetings, membership meetings, and so on. So there's that, I told him I would present it to the board.
It's very
We
clear.
don't have the jurisdiction to do anything about it, so
We don't,
Yeah,
we don't.
right.
we don't. I mean,
Position is
so
very
I don't see
clear.
how we could be held accountable.
I agree, okay.
Yeah,
So then, as we were talking about just before the meeting, Oktoberfest is Saturday the 7th. I have several of you who are volunteering, Jenny, I sent your name to Bruce. Susan, I think you said you could? No, you're out.
I'm still a question mark.
Okay, you're still a question mark. Alan?
No.
Okay, I couldn't remember. And Mike, I know you were not able to. So, Asha, you already said you replied to Bruce. So, and John Latham said he will help out. Jack, you're out. Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right, you guys are still here. I was thinking you were gone.
Cindy's gone out here.
That's right, so. And that's all I got.
All right.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate. Right now, it looks like there might be some.
Right, I'm going to go this week to, I'm not buying nearly as much potato salad as I did for the Durham Point Day. That was way overbought.
Oh, you got something against Idaho?
I don't like it at all. But anyway, so I'm going to go this week and get what we need for them.
Yeah, it's hard to judge.
It's very hard to judge.
Yeah.
So, but we only serve for an hour, and that's what we kind of didn't take into account.
Right,
Is that what we're doing this year as well?
Serving for 1 hour.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 1 to set up, get started, and then I think, you'll probably be serving and
Serving
and checking people in
Yeah,
and so on.
usually serving and running back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, people are needed, at the end of the day, you can only do a half hour, come at the end of the day and help clean up, that's fine, whatever you can do.
And it's 1 to 7?
Well, it's 2 until 7,
7.
but I get there, I'm, of course, to get started, so.
And do you know what time the band plays?
It's on the newsletter, I
I
don't,
didn't see that.
no, maybe not.
I thought that something came out on the poster that said 3.
3 to 7?
Well, yeah, I thought, but I don't know.
Let me look at my
I
newsletter.
keep seeing different things, so I don't know where.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
I thought,
You know what, I
I
think
thought
you
it
might
was
be
like
right.
2
Mike.
o'clock for setup and everything, and then 3 to start.
You're right, it is from 3 until 7. So, yeah, I probably get there until 2, we're gonna let John know. Thank you.
All right,
I agree.
let's do
Yeah.
committee reports. Rhea,
Yes.
roads.
Yeah, setup is 2:30 to 3.
I like to get there a little earlier, I hate to rush. Okay, roads. Well, we all know paving is, you know, in the next few weeks, it's gonna hinge around the beach restoration, which has had a few delays, which I'm sure Mike will talk about. Steve Rowe is on top of it, he's really communicated nicely with me and with the contractor and Mike and so on. He gave me some information about some debris and stuff that was left in the street, and I contacted the owner, and that's been moved and so on. Back to rumble strips, you know, the ones we talked about, the little, those kind. The State Highway Administration does not recommend them for streets with a speed of less than 40 miles an hour, unless it's an extreme situation. And it doesn't, of course, define what an extreme situation is, but there's that. Also, today I had an email from a woman who lives down, if you go down Chestnut and make a left onto Walsh, it comes back to Lesson, a little portion of Lesson that's not paved, or it is paved, but there's no cut through the rest of Lesson. It's one of those little sections. A tree, she said, there's a tree about to fall. So I called Carl, and he just called me about an hour ago, and he said, yeah, it was gonna come down, so they took it.
Good.
So,
Good.
I didn't ask him what kind of a tree it was, you know, pines, of course, or timber, or not timber, but, you know, fragile, whatever. That's it.
All right.
Rhea, was there, you talked in the last meeting about stop signs and paint?
Yes.
Paint going somewhere?
I need to talk with Joe, he was out of town last week, and ask him how much does he think I need to buy. I think we actually had a motion, if I'm not mistaken, to go ahead and purchase that.
Okay, so.
I just, you know, it
Paint
comes
that
in
one.
gallon size, and it comes in this great big gallon, or 5 gallon, so I don't know how much he needs.
We're only gonna paint that one. Yeah, which exact intersection are we gonna paint? It's gonna be just Lake
Lake at Lake Place.
Lake at Lake
That's where the
Place.
suggestion was made, that we paint, that we
So in
put
other
one.
words, it's where
Should
the
we
stop
do
sign
it?
is.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's also a stop sign on Lake Place as you come out of Lake Place onto Lake Drive. Should there be one there and on Lake? And then, should there be one at Lake and Pine where there's a 3-way stop, or, you know, stripes? Should we have one everywhere?
I feel like we're gonna turn everything into sort of like a carnival. You know, with enough paint on the streets, and
Yeah.
we'll get a face painter in, and a candy machine. No,
I think the one where they just put up the stop sign is good to have there, because it reminds people, oh yeah, there was a stop
that's,
sign there.
that's
So
Lake,
just that one?
that's Lake that's on Lake at Lake Place.
Yes,
Like Drive and,
yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
so just the one.
I think
is
just
enough.
there.
Okay, all right. All right,
All right.
But we'll keep the paint just in case.
That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
good idea.
For Halloween.
Oh,
It'll be good. Jack, what do we have on finance?
Well, things are looking pretty good. I'd like to look at the balance sheet when we talk about the reserve agenda item. So we'll save that for then. But again, we are by and large right where we want to be, in profit and loss versus actual. There are a couple of things that, you know, we are a little bit ahead. And I have to admit, I don't understand why, like, and so I thought I might ask Rhea.
Mhm.
We'd love. It seems like, for just 3 months in, our Social Security, Medicare, and payroll processing,
I might have just posted something.
yeah, we're a little bit ahead of 3 months worth of expenditures, it seems. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
66
I
62.
probably mispost, I'll check it. Because what happens is I get the report from the accountant, and it gives me the breakdown between what portion of that IRS deposit, or, you know, payment goes to you guys versus what goes to me, because it's Social Security and Medicare. So it splits, and of course, like, for every 1,100 or so, 400 or 500 goes to the association. So I may have misposted something.
Okay.
You're right, it looks a little high to me as well.
We'll talk about that again when we know. Then, line 6710, right-of-way mowing trimming. We're already over our annual
Yeah.
budget for that.
I'll double check that too to make sure that I haven't, but I don't think I did miss post on that. But I'll double check that.
Okay.
We always do go over, I'll say that, but when it goes over, at that point, and we're at that point now, I'll start, putting Joe's, we're about finished for the season, and then in the springtime I'll pick up again. And then I'll start posting it to labor in the right of way.
It's a small account, it really won't matter, just curious.
Right, but yeah, I'll double check it.
And it's,
So is that Carl mostly?
No, that's,
That's Joe.
Joe Bateman doing the
So
trimming.
that's
and
just
cutting.
Joe?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, so you're separating his wages from that?
Well, we have that category, and that's part of the STD category as
Right.
well, so, yeah, we've always had that category to use. Maybe with next year's budget, we should just have him completely under labor in the right of way, and increase that by a certain amount. We can't take the 1,000 that is, posted for the special tax district, we can't change that. But I can, because that's $1,000, I think. If you look at by class, you'll see $1,000 or so should be posted in, that category for the special tax district. No, it's 1601 actually, so it's over as well. But, I think each category has 1,000 in it. So, but maybe for next year's budget, just take away the 2,000 that's covenant and DPPOA, add 2,000 to labor, and keep it all in one spot. I don't know.
yeah, I think for the whole category, we'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that one little line item.
I'll check it this one to make sure.
And the last one is stormwater management. We're, for 3 months, again, we're nearly exhausted the account.
Well, that is the 20-some thousand that paid, Ward's Marine to do Big Causeway. That's what that
That's a
is.
one-time.
Yeah, and that was billed to the county.
That comes out of STD, right?
It does, it came out of STD. Mike, when you mentioned the other day at the membership meeting, I didn't want to say anything right there, but those 5 or 6 projects that you talked about, those were done in last fiscal year. So that's not what this money is. This is the Causeway.
Yeah,
That's a big deal, but I just say, no, that's why, might seem different to
I'm just trying to make a general comment that we've been doing.
Yeah, I know, that's why I was saying that.
We haven't been idle.
Jack, is the 45,000, is that traditionally a number that's for snow removal budgeted, just,
Yeah. Luckily, last year, we didn't spend a dime. It's quite nice. But yeah, it's always been about that.
where does it go after if we don't spend it?
Reserves,
Well, it goes into the carryover, if you will.
carryover,
There's-
yeah.
Thank you.
That's all.
Very good. Any other questions? All right. Environment. Who wants to-
I have nothing, but Diddy probably does with the Ivy League.
Yeah, we're gonna start up on November 11th, it's a Saturday. I'll put together something in writing and send it to Rhea so she can send it out by email.
All right.
I haven't chosen a lot yet, so I'll have to do that as well.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Safety, nobody's here for that. Welcoming committee, Rhea.
You guys are coming tomorrow?
Yep.
12:30?
12:30, yep.
And I have enough stuff back there, including, everything, brochures, everything, that you can assemble 8 buckets.
Okay.
And I think there are 3 ready for distribution. Things have slowed a little bit. I sent letters out to new owners about 6 weeks ago, but I don't think I had any responses. They come in eventually.
Yeah.
That's it. 3 on here, 8 to be assembled.
Mike, planning committee, I know you had something.
Well, yeah, we were making pretty good progress on the beach restoration until last week when we had a series of about 3 days of high tides. and they really limited the time they could get into the water and work. So I went down today. Looks like there's some more rock that's been put in there. They haven't made a lot of progress, but they have delivered several loads of sand. I would guess probably 5 or 6. Maybe it's enough. At least we'll have those trucks coming in. And I didn't talk to them. I didn't want to stop them working today. I'll try to catch them tomorrow and see where they're at. The main thing is trying to get all the heavy stuff in there before that paving starts on the week after. Next week, yeah, next week, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Although they haven't done anything as far as like the leaves and cleaning the debris or anything today. I didn't see anything done.
Is it today or tomorrow? Oh, no, today's Tuesday. I think it was today they're supposed to.
Was it?
start doing that. Yeah, I believe. So we'll see.
That's it.
All right, good. Well, now we're down to that wonderful piece of unfinished business, the reserve study. Everybody's favorite topic. Jack, you had a meeting of the finance committee and
Yeah, we went through it all, talked it over. No great revelations about what to do. But aside from the legislative process, which is, I find puzzling in Maryland, I mean, if Rita hadn't had a chance conversation with someone at a local condominium, we still wouldn't know about this, so. I
that
don't
would
know.
have been wonderful.
So
I asked myself that all the time.
I
So much for networking.
Yeah, I know. You just get grief for it. But I do understand what you're saying. You would have thought, like on the CAI membership, Community Associations, and maybe, I will say this, don't repeat it. I mostly ignore their emails, because well, now wait a second, they're mostly like, here, there's a webinar I can attend, or I don't ignore them, but I glance at them and I don't need that. And so maybe they did send something out that I missed. I mean, so it's possible.
Oh, but still, you didn't get anything from the state, which is.
One would have thought I would have gotten something
Yeah,
from the
that's-
state, and I don't ignore those.
Yeah, but anyway,
There's one thing I don't completely understand, is they were saying that having a reserve is required, but then it says how much you need to have as a reserve. They give you a number, but they say that's recommended, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have, if it's recommended.
The law says you have to fund it accordingly, according to the recommendation.
yeah, it's,
Okay.
I haven't been able to find the law. I do have a legislative report that I think assume is accurate, but usually you can see the law, at least at the federal level. But, okay, all that aside, one way I would suggest to approach this is have a look at our balance sheet. And we have, fortunately, more money than we will spend this year. And so I looked and I added up all of our available funds. And I'm assuming that we'll worry about whether it's a special taxes or not later. But all of that added up, we have 614,000 and some little bit more of funds available this year. Now, a lot of that is, of course, being applied to our budget that we approved, but not all. I went through our budget and came up with approved expenditures by all of us of $614,370. So you subtract that from, well, that was,
No, you said we have 614.
Yeah.
yeah,
you're wrong.
that's available. And let me just go to my budget line. So anyway, I added up all of our approved budget line items and all of the money that we know we will have. This is money that is in there already. And that's, we have 150,000 and a little bit more.
Surplus.
More this year.
Surplus.
Yeah. So since I couldn't see the legislation, but the legislative report I have, the study that we paid for, doesn't tell us how to do this. That's what consultants, in my experience, have always done. There's no advice on how to do this. So my idea on how to do this is to just take that extra money that we have this year and call it reserve. We'll create a line item, sort of like the line we have for the STD funds, and then another line right below it saying STD contract. Just to get it there, but
So we would move it into the reserve account though?
no, we would just label it. We wouldn't do anything. We would just change our balance sheet.
Just a budget item, or an accounting item.
Okay.
And we might even put it at the end. Just like this, like the STD and the STD contra lines aren't really part of your normal accounting.
Right,
That's-
right.
And I imagine that what I want to do wouldn't be part of normal accounting either. Nevertheless, it would be an honest representation of how much money we have and how much money we've committed to spend and what the difference is. I would call that, that's how my definition of reserve, even before.
I like that idea.
It's very transparent.
If we have like an unforeseen expense, can we use it?
That's what I,
Yeah, but that's
I'm
exactly,
thinking,
no, but that's exactly what the reserve
Reserve
is
is
that's
for.
true,
right,
Yeah, like
yeah.
if a causeway got taken out.
Sure,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
a reserve is for.
That's
Yeah,
what
well,
I'm paying, so I
so-
just wanna make sure.
You're not you're just reshaping it, where
Right.
it's clearer.
Right.
Relabeling,
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but you're not changing anything that we've ever,
more clearly labeling it, I would like to say.
yeah. And especially since they're so not really specific,
Right.
I've looked everywhere, I can't find any
yeah.
legislation or consulting advice on this.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
So,
Can I just say a
we're
question?
still short of what the legislation says we are obligated to do. So for that, I would say we're going to have a meeting with these consultants, and I would just challenge their numbers, because their numbers are baloney. I mean,
Correct.
2 desks for $4,400, if that's representative of some of the other things we could take a good hard look at, we could get that $196,000 recommendation / requirement down to the 150 we have available. Done.
Well, we still have, we already have 24,000 in reserves,
Oh,
Mark.
dear.
I count that with the,
You counted that in the
yeah,
surplus?
yeah,
Okay.
that's part of the 150 that.
Okay, no, I have one other question related to this, and may or may not be pertinent. What's the road bond asset?
That,
Not available,
It's
I
not
did not
available.
count that.
No, but what is it?
it's, if you want to build a house or what have you, you put a $2,500 bond,
Right.
and that goes into this account. So
No,
that's not really ours to
It's
use.
not an asset, that's a liability. That's a current
Well,
liability.
it's shown in the liability too, so,
But
So,
then at the end,
road bond's payable.
at the end of the construction, if they haven't destroyed anything, they get the money
They get the
back.
money back.
Right, that's why it's a liability.
Well,
All we're doing is we're storing that money.
yeah, I understand. So where do you think it should be? Then?
Well, I don't, yeah,
gotta
you've
show
got
on
it,
the
you've got it under
accounts.
liability and,
And that's
asset.
how the CPA has had it set up, has had me set it up. I mean, the accountant, I mean, what?
We have to account for it somehow.
How would I account for it otherwise then?
just as a liability. It's
And
not
So
an
then my
asset.
liabilities and my assets won't match.
Well,
I have to have it somewhere on the asset side in order to
Okay,
match
well,
the liabilities.
yeah, then it would come out of retained earnings or something. That's where you balance it.
I'll ask Mark.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be showing up both as a liability and an asset. And it really is truly a liability, because it's money that we're
Yes.
basically banking that will have to be paid back
Right.
if, you know, assuming, that they don't do any damage.
Right, exactly. I will ask him how I should show it then.
Okay,
It's always been shown this way.
well, I
It's
know.
not that I'm not like, it's always been that way, I don't mean it that way. But I'll ask him what other option there is.
Well,
What other
Yeah,
way to show it on the balance sheet, so it's not showing as an asset.
well, it shows as it's a liability, you've already got it here.
I
And
know,
so when you take this away, that reduces your retained earnings to balance so that the assets and liabilities balance.
okay. I believe you.
Yeah. But that doesn't really change this thing. But I think meeting with these people and challenging their numbers is
Oh, yeah.
the thing to do.
I mean, it's, you know, I think it's a shoddy piece of work. I've done this for decades in the federal government, and this would be unacceptable, we wouldn't accept it.
Right.
So, but we're stuck here, there's like, the legislation gives us no recourse.
Right.
You have to take their recommendation,
Yes, no, I agree with
which
Jack.
is sort of a misnomer.
Yeah, I thought the study was flawed the first time I read it. But this answer is viable and we can do it.
But I think we need to ask,
Yeah, we
when
gotta,
we have the virtual meeting, I think
Yeah.
we need to ask if
do we
that's
wanna have a
sufficient.
virtual meeting or do we
In
want?
person is $500. I believe it was, was it 500?
I can't see throwing good money after bad on this. No.
Yeah.
That would be my,
I can bring my laptop in.
Well, but in any case,
So
I
we
don't
can
think
have a
we should,
face.
I don't think we should have the meeting until Jack's back from France.
Oh, I
think
agree,
Jack
yeah, that's
definitely
too
has to be there.
tight. But they wanted our input by the end of October.
Well, tell them they're
So-
not gonna get it that fast.
Well, some response, like let's schedule a meeting or something.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And with maybe a couple of pertinent questions and, you know, so they have something to go on, something like that.
I think it's a fair way to do it, because in real life, if we had a disaster and, you know, had to replace major things, that's exactly what we would do. We would start looking for all the money we could
Okay.
scare up in all of these
Right.
lines.
Yeah, that makes
And-
sense.
And that's reality, so.
Yeah, they're ignoring the funding that we already have.
Right.
They're ignoring what we have on the books, and they're ignoring what basically is fixed income that we have coming in.
Right.
Mhm.
And
And may I add one thing? They're also ignoring the fact that since we have the STD, we have FEMA and NEMA, so that would give us additional money in case of some disaster.
Yeah, in reality, but you can't count that on a balance sheet.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So my only concern about doing it the way you're talking about, just, you know, doing another entry and, you know, calling a carryover of 150,000 a year, whatever we have left over, so to speak, down here under a receivable?
Well,
Is that what you're
no, it
saying?
would
It's a
just be
reserve.
changed, it would just be up the amount of the reserve. We have
But you're
reserve
saying don't
funds
move it
now.
physically into that account, you're saying?
It would be a line item like the contract.
That's, okay, so my concern is that a future board, people who, you know, would look at this and say, oh, look, there's another $150,000, when in reality, it's included in our checking account already.
There's-
That's not an extra pot of money sitting anywhere.
Just like I had a learning curve coming in.
I know, but that's a
People
learning
will
curve
have to
that could-
learn what it's about.
But that's a learning curve that could cause problems. And I only say this because, again, back to the condos, there were people on the board that just did not understand that just because you had it down here didn't mean there was another pot of money. You know, they considered this money in checking, you know, like the board president there considered the money that they had in checking, I just count that as the reserve. Okay, that's fine. But then you need to be able to explain to people that this reserve account you're posting down here is not an additional pot of money. And that would be my only concern, is that's
But can't we have some sort of user guide or some documentation that would,
Well, yes, sure.
that would inform people this and point
Yes,
that
and
out?
it took me 3 times explaining to 2 of these board members, no, that's not
And
extra
was this here at
money.
one point or in another association?
Another association.
Okay.
See, I don't see how that's any different than the STD line items.
But that is an
You
extra pot of
gotta, you
money.
have to understand the balance sheet.
But that is extra money
But we
sitting
don't
at
have
the
it, it's
county.
not ours. It's up
But it's
there.
available.
Okay, that was an experience you had in
Yeah.
another association, which
yeah.
is very valid. And it could happen anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I've been on a homeowner's board that wanted to spend all the money and we
Yeah.
had to, several of us dig in. I don't know, unless you can have another alternative suggestion, that there's much we can do other than maybe what Bonnie's saying, have a little addendum or a little explanation.
Why not just transfer a portion of it into the actual reserve account? I can do that right online.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, but
it's
it's
nothing.
still, we still won't be meeting the required reserve.
And we still have some work to do.
Well, you just see how much is required in the end, once everything is pared down to a more reasonable
Okay,
reserve.
so, yeah,
And
what
then
you're,
just move it on into the
yeah, what you're
account.
saying is, it's sort of a combination of what Jack is suggesting.
Maybe,
And figure out exactly what the amount is gonna be, and then move that amount of money.
at the end of each year, you know,
That makes sense,
we
I
do the
guess.
budget, and this is what we want, gee, we need an extra 50,000, so take that out of carryover, remember how we do it on the budget? And there's 100,000 left over, put that in the actual reserve account.
The alternative is to do what the study says and send a letter out to every household here and say, send us
Well, I don't
more
think we
money.
should do that, I think,
Well, that's what they
I think
said.
you need to meet with these folks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once you meet with these folks and
Right.
you get a determination, then you can come back.
They've already given us $16.17 per month
but
per
you're gonna
household.
talk,
But we're gonna challenge that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna challenge
gonna.
that, why not wait until we see how that meeting goes? And then you go to the next step, is what I'm saying, rather than worrying about it now.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So in essence, we think we've got a solution, and we just wait until we have the meeting, we make the proposal to them, see how they react, and then we take whatever steps we think will be necessary.
If there's any, it's the path of least resistance.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I mean,
So let's do it.
First off, you challenge some of their findings.
That's gotta be part of it.
That's gotta be part of it. And then, once you've done that, you agree on what you think the numbers are, then challenge them on our funding mechanism. And
They don't address that.
Yeah, they
It's
don't,
like, there's nothing to challenge. We,
well, but maybe that's the
no, but
problem.
they're saying,
It's an
they're
omission.
saying you need to send, you need to raise $16 per household. They're saying you need to do that. We can say, well, we don't need to do that because we have a funding stream that covers our reserve requirements.
and I don't even think this is a stream, this is actual money in the bank, you know.
Right.
There will be money coming in, we'll be even better off, we just can't account for it today.
Right now.
so I can send Miller Dodson an email, do you want to send me dates where
Yeah.
whoever's coming is available for virtual, and like a couple of different options between whoever's gonna come. And I'll just put a couple of points into it that, you know, we want to challenge some of your suggestions, and we have questions about what you consider our funding to be in relation to the special tax district. Just give them a few ideas.
Not just the special tax district, it's all of our income
Oh, okay. And-
generating mechanisms.
Right, okay.
And there are, you know, some of the proposals that they have made regarding roads are, we can't do it. I mean, you know, it's nonsense.
Like-
Grinding,
Right, they don't realize we don't mill and grind and all
Yeah,
that
you
kind of
know.
stuff. Well, those are other points that,
well,
you know.
that takes a lot of money out of it, because, you know, it's
Well, I
not
know,
free.
yeah, right.
I didn't look at any of that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah,
because it doesn't have a dollar figure in front of it, so.
well.
Well, and the remodeling of this office, obviously we don't need a,
Yeah, that seems weird.
Yeah.
They
well,
want you to
I think they have a blanket, maybe
But I think
whatever.
they have a
It's a
template.
Boilerplate,
template,
as
it's
they
a
say,
template, and
template.
when you get to the
Yeah.
office and it says
Yeah.
remodel and it
Yeah.
costs X of Y.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's not-
Actually, we used to call that cut and paste.
that's right.
You can
I
get
think
in
we
trouble
still do.
cutting it.
It's like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so, okay, so we're at the point that Rhea's gonna Rhea's gonna contact them, tell them we're gonna have a meeting.
First, I want some emails from whoever's going to attend, giving me 3 or 4 dates that work for you. Like Jack, send out the ones that work for you, since you're committee persons.
Yes.
And then everybody else can chime in that's intending to be there, and then I'll email them
I'll
out.
send it to you, copy the board.
All right. So I guess that's where we are. None of that needs a motion or a vote or nothing. We're just moving forward. Anything else on that one? Any new business? All right, we can now schedule the next meeting. I think the next meeting, if we go with the first Tuesday, it is the 7th of November,
It's
right?
election day, probably. Is there election? Are we having any elections in Maryland?
I think only in Virginia.
Oh,
Virginia does,
Okay.
but I don't think Maryland has.
I don't think Maryland does. I
Maryland
don't think.
gave up election.
Well, there's nothing down here, I can tell you that, because
Okay,
there's been nothing in the Calhoun County election
okay.
for anything this year.
All right, so it's the 7th, or I guess, first Tuesday is 7th, second Tuesday is 8th, what meets people's needs? I can't make either one, so,
Following Tuesday, I might still be, that's Veterans Day weekend, right? I don't
I
know.
don't know, Veterans Day is on the 11th, isn't it,
Yes,
Yeah,
of November?
yes,
So,
that's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
right.
So it's either the 7th or 14th.
7th or 14th, yeah, why did I say the 11th?
Okay.
Let's see, so- Well, I can do the 7th.
How many people can do the 7th?
I can do the 7th.
I can do this.
I think it's unanimous, it's everybody except Jack won't be here, but,
What do you want,
I'll be back.
you back from France,
oh,
though,
that's
right?
right, yeah, no, he'll be back. So it's the 7th.
Okay.
I have a brief question about something that we brought up earlier. I don't know if there's anything going on, but you know the beach that goes along Surf Drive before you get to the guys' stuff with the grill and everything?
Yeah.
There's a beach there, where someone put a sign.
It's posted, no trespassing.
Yeah, well, it's like in the water and
I
Oh,
think that's probably his
that's the
son.
guy's.
No, that's his, that's at the end
It's
of
the
his
same
lot.
guy.
Yeah,
That's
and,
at the end of his lot.
yeah, the guy put it there, and I think somebody broke it in half and then knocked
This is
his
the
son.
second one, this is a
Oh,
replacement.
no.
Yeah, and this one I think got beaten up, but the water goes up to, and most of the time goes up to the rock, so
Yeah.
I don't know how you can have a sign there.
You wanna fight that fight?
Well, it looks like a hazard.
Go
It's
for
all, they're like metals, like
Go
sticking
for it, do
everywhere.
whatever you think is appropriate.
Is it his
Go with
property?
God.
It can't be, it's up to the mean, your property is up to the mean,
Well,
high tide,
that
and
can,
that's, the water goes
No.
all the way up to the rock.
that
so
can
this-
be
sign-
under discussion, depending on its plat.
It can, it absolutely can.
But if the water's over it, then it's
That
owned by
doesn't
the
matter,
state.
some plats actually
No,
go
it's a mean
into-
high water, so
Yeah,
high tide could go over it.
Right, no, I
It's
know.
the mean high.
The mean
Yeah,
high
but-
water.
And I was down there, I was looking at it, and I had the same question about that sign. And at the time I looked at it, it was above the water line.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but still, some plats actually go into the water, and so you get into a real muck
The woman
situation.
who's
well,
just below
Yeah.
that,
if a lot goes into the water,
Yeah.
that you lose
You lose it.
the right to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but still,
Because it's still defined by the mean
So
high
this is
water.
where, so the water was,
No, I know, but that,
Yeah.
the other day, though, it was,
There's
water was
that.
down below that.
right. But can you still have a sign like that? I mean, it seems like a hazard to
Well,
have
it's
this.
on his lot,
What?
it's on his lot.
For people, if the beach comes back and people are on it,
If the beach comes back and if people are on it and if people complain,
it's.
But
She's complaining.
but you can
I
take on that
complain.
fight anytime you like.
I think it's a hazard. You have,
Well-
you know, kids and things, you know.
But
how
the
is it a
rock-
hazard any more
I
than
mean,
the
the
rocks
rocks
are a
rocks
hazard?
themselves are a hazard,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
The
it's,
rocks are a hazard.
Yeah, but the rocks, they have been there. The rocks are a hazard. But they are there and
but that's his lot, So
This
as long
sounds
as,
like
as
Catholic
long as it's above
theology.
the high water, mean high water,
Yeah,
that's his. And
that's-
he can do whatever he wants.
That's debatable.
I
Or
assume
we
it's
can-
liability insurance in case someone gets hurt there. and it's-
So my
Well-
question, I have a question. When you talk about the mean high water, so high tide comes up to here, so the mean high tide is like,
The
let's say
average.
halfway, the average of that.
Right.
So if this is the high tide, the mean high tide is down here toward the water, is that right or not?
Maybe, yeah.
So then he's above the mean high tide,
Right.
the mean high tide, the
Yeah,
average
but
high tide.
He's above the mean high water line. And
But who's out there like
And
that?
until that
That's the
changes-
other-
Well, that's
Yeah.
it.
I don't think he is above,
Well-
because I've seen the water of the rocks, I've seen it back.
I know, but you have to take the mean.
No, I know that,
And
I
that's
know that,
defined-
I
that's-
completely understand, I understand the
I know, and
world.
it's hard to,
I understand the world,
It's
but I
hard to
think the
quantify that.
water is moving up, so I don't think he really,
It did move up a little bit,
Yeah.
so just the normal.
yeah.
well, it has, and eventually, that guy is gonna lose half of his lot.
Right,
Because eventually, the water's gonna keep coming up,
right,
and the mean high water line is gonna shift,
right.
earthward.
That's what I'm saying.
And
the
he's gonna
shift is
lose.
Coming up.
But right now, I think he's still okay. You'd have to fight it, and wouldn't be worth fighting.
We'd have to have a survey,
Yeah,
you know,
Oh, it'd be-
force him to survey.
Yeah, and I don't mind that, and you can say it's his lot or whatever, but the fact that he's got this metal sign sticking up there, I think is,
It's bent and stuff.
If it's on his,
It's
but if it's on
dangerous.
his property,
Just don't see how it's any more dangerous than the rocks that he's got.
okay, well, I'm different with you, I think it is, so.
Right.
That's just my.
Good. It's good to
And
have
I've had a
a moral,
lot of people come up to me and
it's good
complain.
to have a
I've had
moral
three-
position.
Three households come up to
Oh,
me.
yes, I get all kinds of
Um,
complaints about
And
it.
complain about it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody
Personally,
said-
I feel sorry for the guy who bought a lot that was half
I do too.
underwater.
yeah.
I had somebody tell me that they were offended by what he has, all that stuff he has there.
Well,
They're
I got,
offended.
Not a problem.
well, they can be offended all they
I
want.
may be
Well, and
offended.
that's what I said.
I'm
there
more
are-
offended by some of these people who dump shit all over their yards.
Yeah, no, I
Trash.
agree with that too,
Crap.
I'm
So,
about
but
that too.
It's, that sign alone,
Yeah.
aside, he is on his own property. You don't have to like what he's done, not you. A person doesn't have to like what he's done with it.
Right.
They can think it looks tacky. I think,
So-
pink swans in the front of somebody's yard looks tacky.
The reason
Or
why,
something, I don't know.
one reason why I'm bringing it up, one reason-
That's why I wonder. I haven't answered this.
So I have had, Rick, I'm just saying,
Yes, of
I've,
course.
I've had like 3 different households come up to me, and I'm usually walking the dogs, and I'm like, I'm off duty, but they'll still come up to me anyway. So Megan Denopoulos
Yeah,
said they
she
had
called
someone
me.
there, and
She
they were
called me.
thinking of buying
Yeah.
her house, but then they weren't so sure because of what was going on over there.
the sign stopped them from buying the house.
And I told her, I said, we have
Excuse me.
addressed the,
It's
the issue, and we've done whatever we could do.
Yes.
And that's all I could tell
And
her.
that's exactly what I told Megan,
Yeah.
she called me.
And then
as well.
somebody else came up to me, and then somebody else came up to me, so I've had like 3 households
Well,
come up to
and
me.
you know, I think that's a helpless feeling when people keep coming up.
It
And
is.
there really is nothing you can do, but it feels helpless.
Right.
Geez, I want to be able to do something.
Right, and I
It
told them
is
whatever we've
obnoxious.
discussed it, and we've done what we can do, but,
I understand,
Yeah.
it's gotta be frustrating, I get frustrated with all the people. I had a man in the other day, and Mike went and checked it out for me, the owner down there has put like a little gate across his home property line. But if you could go down right there, if the gate weren't there, that goes to some steps, makeshift steps, let's call them steps.
They're poured
Are
stuff.
they porch
Oh,
steps?
yeah,
Okay,
they're
I
porch.
apologize. But this man thought that that was our easement to the water, and it's not. It's not. That is his property. Our easement is closer to that footbridge. So he has every right to put a little gate there. You know, he just does.
Even though you can step over it.
Well,
Around it.
You can step
Throw
around
it,
it,
yeah.
step over
We,
it.
we could invoke the
Well,
non-enforcement.
I agree, the sign
that's
is
a
dangerous
dangerous
because it's
fence.
bent and
that's
if
it.
your kid was there and,
Yeah,
yeah.
they end up getting scraped up.
I mean,
I tell you what,
Walking,
and
right?
now that we're into the moral indignation portion of the meeting, and it
About what
seems to
it
me
is.
like we have concluded that, meeting's adjourned.
Right.